Recording in progress.
It is Wednesday, October 4th, 2023 at 09:33 a.m. Harney County Court is in session for accounts payable review. Regular session will begin at 10 o'clock. I would presume Commissioner Shellman is on her way.
Hey, is the credit listening session for the Crane Water Sewer on the 19th?
Yes,
Okay. for
that's
some
what I
reason, Feather just sent us all an email assuming it's on the 18th, and I'll just send her a quick one.
I believe it was the 19th, what we discussed that night.
Yeah, that was what we discussed. I just wanted to double check that something hadn't changed. And I didn't realize.
I didn't even think about the other audit, but.
I don't remember. Did I say I was gonna send a calendar invite?
Well, I don't know what you said.
Yeah, on the 19th.
But Feather's kind of running with it, saying it's on the 18th. I mean, running in a good way, but. Like that. before it goes into the-
I was at 2025.
No, this is good. I did it, but you know, like, she'd be arguing.
Yeah, let me ask you.
What keeps-
And,
I'm typing.
So I'll probably have to get on
Got everything but my writing utensil.
The brother said it's the 19th, and then we'll see what happens.
So he would like to be if I had to do whatever. Then I could.
So we sign them, even though it says the 10th day of October. At least this one does.
Yeah, just approval for. She did, Tammy said they wouldn't actually be paid until the 10th, but it's just a review and a.
But it reads incorrectly. Should I just come change it to the 3rd? It is hereby
Accounts
certified that
payable.
on the 10th day of October, the Harney County Court at its regular session approved the foregoing. I'll just pen change it. It's October 3rd.
Where'd you? Oh, you're so this one doesn't say that.
Okay, I'll just pen change it.
Yeah.
The everyone party.
Oh, it's easy. So I want to do Yeah, that's the first one I thought. Well, if it goes there, it would sweep out and have to. Bring the step out of the store and buy one. You know, so it involves everything. When you take it, push it down and bring it back.
Good morning.
As long as you don't talk back.
Yeah, it helps. What's the new for? What's this for?
Oh, that was an attempt to run the USB cable up and over and get it off of the floor. But then Jeremy found out that that long of a run has too much signal degradation and it won't work. So we had to go back to the floor.
Oh, shoot.
So,
At least he tried, man.
yeah, well, I asked him to do it. I'm like, yeah, that cleans up over here. We don't have people tripping over stuff, and then it didn't work.
I was like, oh, I'm hopeful.
We need more Bluetooth stuff so we can go wireless with everything. The emergency management, did you guys see the opportunity for the OWL system?
Oh, yeah, it was a little while ago.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
What was it about?
An opportunity to
Oh,
apply for a
oh,
grant
yes,
for the
right.
OWL, which is the thing that
Yep.
moves and,
Told her to go for it.
Yeah. and I'm hoping that eye is Bluetooth.
That'd be.
Yeah.
I believe it is because the one that we've used in meetings were.
So if that's the case, we can clean up some of the wiring.
I liked that one we just did.
Yeah, that was,
Easy peasy.
what's been going on in your world, Rick?
Better. I was at the recycling center in Southern James Shelley on the the knife, it was in my pocket, I took my knife out and I put my phone up and I put it in the back of the trailer.
Oh, that's a bad place to lose your phone. What if?
What kind of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone, but.
Did you have your phone locate thing turned on? And did you you said you found it? Yeah, okay. I've used,
About 3 hours and damn 5 minutes.
Yeah, those are, well, I sit there and I can know where my kids are in the field. Oh, they've made it to this pasture.
Yeah.
Cause I can,
Which function is that?
it's on the iPhones, like all my kids are on my family share.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I can sit there and pull up their location as where they are on their phones.
So it's much better today.
so here's a good lost iPhone and location story. I was, when we still lived in Nevada, I went to Phoenix to buy a Harley, buy a motorcycle. And the morning I left, I had stopped by to see a friend there that I was stationed in the Air Force with. I stopped by to see him, took off my jacket and stuff and, visited with him for a little bit. Put my coat back on and put my phone in, and I thought I had put it in the pocket, but missed the pocket. So I come out of this housing development where he lives and my phone fell out. I didn't know it. I didn't know it until I got, I don't know, like 3 or 4 hours down the road, didn't know it, right? So when I got home, I did that locate phone thing and it pinged it on that street right out in front of, out of their development. And that evening, him and his family, grandkids, whatever, went on an Easter egg hunt and found my phone in the storm drain.
Oh, my gosh.
And then he mailed it back to me. So I'm a definite believer in making sure you have that turned on your phone now.
Well, I didn't realize that. But the other thing is, I want to do a hip part now. Yeah. So, and it did.
But I was walking them to it on the phone as they were out looking for it. I was, no, go to the left, go to the left.
I find if it's within my own house, it's not accurate enough. If it's, I was like, when you're in the house and you try to look for it, it's not why.
Do you guys by chance remember if somebody had, for the quarterly budget meeting tomorrow? I was thinking somebody would volunteer to bring.
I don't remember that.
Anything about that?
I don't recall myself either.
You mean way back last spring?
Yeah,
They would-
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
What did we have it, how long did we have it scheduled for?
10:30 to 2:30.
Those 4 hours?
Yeah. So what do you, if you told me to bring it?
Yeah, it's 10:30 minutes.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Great bite dentures. for jail.
What is it?
I guess we take care of the chief, right bite dentures.
Oh. Yeah, responsible for all medical and
God, get your teeth fixed, come back.
Do drugs.
Now you can bite the elders in there. Poor folks.
I wish they would amend all those rules that are laws that people's insurance gets suspended when they get incarcerated.
That
It
is
makes
just
absolute-
mind-boggling. How?
Why,
It's actually accountable to do.
well, why should the county, the government entity, all of a sudden be responsible?
When they haven't actually been.
Adjudicated.
convicted.
It's one
Yeah.
thing if you're in prison.
Yeah.
But jails are different. They're temporary.
In that HHS meeting the AOC HHS meeting the other day, and listening to some people's perspectives on Measure 110 and what their motivation was for the creation of it in the first place, and not hanging that criminal label around somebody because of, for whatever reason, but it takes all accountability away. That same mind or thought process could be said about any criminal act. How about a Dewey? Well, it's one Dewey and now they have this
They have
hanging
an
around.
addiction, it's not their fault. I just noticed
I don't-
an OBO, is that your grandson?
It's a state thing,
Oh,
not
okay,
our
it's a state.
backs.
Okay. 'cause
And
I'm like,
And
that's
they,
during county
and now
court.
Now they changed it to Wednesdays at 10, so I could never attend, and those were really good. They were on Fridays. I mean, Friday, nobody likes to have meetings, but that's the day we fit them in.
Wednesdays at
And
12.
I've emailed the person that sent them out twice, and I just said, is there any way you can record them? Because they want to be told, they don't want vendors to be at those meetings, they just want governing body people at those meetings, county folks. Fine, I swear I won't share this with any vendors. Give me a link to watch the video at least. So, I don't know, I'm disappointed they did that, I don't know. But they didn't want to have meetings on Friday. I understand.
I know Wednesday. Yeah, who wants to work on Fridays? So you said you were out at the recycle center the other day. Did the door issue ever get resolved out there?
I don't know, not that I've heard.
Winter's coming.
I don't know what their their savings account, whatever looks like. If they have the ability to fix the door.
Or if the insurance of the party that hit it has been
Don't know about,
contacted.
I don't know. That's what that is. But it is, considerable.
Yeah, I saw pictures the other day. That looks really good.
I'm encouraging them to, since they don't seem to be able to do anything else, get plastic flap. Take door at least. So that they can have some brace of the weather.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge. We're gonna have our-
And even if it's, even when they get the door, they will still be using it. And maybe the truck drivers have some more awareness so that they don't get as they go out about with the door.
Is that what happened?
No, but that does happen.
What did happen?
From what I understand, it was from the outside the driver unit.
And what was all that wood and stuff that was?
No, it was in the driver.
Well, the story I got was the neighbors assisting them with a tractor to scoop the cardboard or to push the cardboard in. Hit the door with the tractor.
Neighbors.
Neighbors.
The other thing I'm pushing.
So that's
for is
two
to
different
put
stories.
bollards out.
Huh?
I'm pushing for them to put bollards both outside and inside,
What are
so that
those?
they can hit that before they.
Smoke
get anything else.
posts.
Some, yeah,
Anti-terrorism.
yeah.
Or anti-idiot.
But they're preparing those.
One of the, I guess it's a challenge because it's mostly volunteers or just a little bit of pay, but most of those, many times, and I've only gone over there probably 10 times over the last few years. But half those times when they were open, someone was almost hit, people did not know how to drive
Last fall, something like
that
that.
machine.
They
And,
doubled all the cardboard.
and I'm surprised it's not even
Pushed it in
worse,
the
but
doorway. So
I don't
they walk
know
back
how to
twice.
fix that, but that's A lot of damage can happen by accident,
Yeah,
and that's what was happening.
well,
Like,
it's an experience,
To push
not
it in.
necessarily.
inexperienced and,
Turn it off.
yeah.
And we do have two guys in there now that are volunteering.
Sometimes we've done more than.
Experienced
Tractor
drivers.
hit it and the truck hit it over.
Yeah.
So, I know that, you know, but I have it at one of those noon Zoom meetings today, so it looks like we have some interesting things on the agenda that could possibly run into then. I don't know how quickly they'll go. Maybe they'll go fast. But I hate to have like the last one or whatever is going on and then it's well underway and then
I think we should be able to get, I mean, even if you had a half hour for each one of those, that's 2 hours by noon, but I don't think it's gonna take that long per topic.
Is this a regular billing or did they come do more work?
It's a semi-annual inspections. And there's an annual fee. And then there's semi-annual inspections.
Seems like it
I
wasn't
need to
very
drill-
long ago.
Yeah, I need to drill down on that one again, though, because I did when I first came into office.
Yeah, pull it up and see how often we're doing billed.
Yeah.
So that puts our elevator expense up there
Yeah.
from these type of things. Be different if they're charging you $200.
There will be a nationwide emergency alert test today at 11:20 a.m. on all cells, wireless devices, radios, and TVs.
And everything else. For a half hour.
Should come on even the other one.
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe
I
our
wanna have,
test.
I wanna have it off, just to see what happens.
It usually only goes for less than a minute or a minute.
Oh, it's for-
This has been a test of the emergency broadcasting system. Had there been an actual emergency,
They
you
had
would
this
have been
all the
directed.
time when I was a
I know
kid.
it.
Yeah.
You would have been
You got
directed
that
where
one.
to,
It's been burned in your mind.
yeah.
Is this chair up?
Huh?
Said somebody sure uses this chair up.
I did.
Oh, did you?
Here, just sit.
Okay.
I said in it yesterday when I was in here talking with Brad, Jeremy and them. And I sat down in it and I feel like I'm sitting on the floor, so I always have to raise them up.
Is that Princeton Rice?
No, not yet. Hello.
No correspondence, no.
None. Goes right through things today then. Boy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, went back to short. It's easier. Not as long as it's. I have short hair, I have to have regular hair appointments to keep it nice. I'm not good at trimming them myself. So during COVID, it's like, let it grow long, let it grow. I went for lots of years out at the ranch where I never got to have regular hair appointments, so I kind of enjoy it. Did you pay yourself? No, I'd wait. And then get long and then.
Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, October 4th at 10 a.m. Regular session in the Harney County Court. Come to order, and if you'll stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, and jumping right into it, taking care of vouchers and accounts payable. Agenda approval for today's October 4th, 2023. I have no additions.
I move to approve the agenda for sure.
I second.
Motion's been made to approve today's agenda, made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. Next item is minutes approval from County Court's session on September 27th, 2023.
I move to approve the Harney County Court meeting minutes of September 27th, 2023. I'll second.
And a motion has been made to approve Harney County Court minutes from September 27th, 2023. It's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries. And that brings us to opportunity for public comment. Sir, state your name, please.
Rick Paul, just a comment on this SEAC meeting that I attended 2 weeks ago, which the judge was smart not to attend it, but by phone. There was 3 particularly long reports that were really interesting. I'll write a note for the newspaper and copy you with it. The thing of interest is that their next meeting is is November 27th, the Monday after Thanksgiving in Ontario. And the items that they've already pre-announced are, I think, of major interest, is we are going to do some prioritizing of the stiff information and any extra monies of which we would have. So I'm going to ask in my letter that people, if they got ideas on transportation things, that they please notify the judge or I on the county basis. So the interesting thing was, it was a short meeting, and I was actually done by noon. And I got another hour with Ken Patterson, who is the regional director. And it was an interesting hour of discussion with him and things of which are importance to us. His jurisdiction, Division 5, only starts at Riley, does not include the other parts of the county out to milepost 87 or 83, which is the county line. So he had no idea why they are stockpiling so much aggregate at milepost 87 at that big lot there. And they have gone from 1 to about 12 stacks of aggregate that he didn't know. He thought he would check and see if he could get back. But it was interesting for me to know this. One of my priorities, I hope it's ours, is to keep State Chin open. But they went through several other. The interesting thing I thought was that Kirby had successfully gotten a planning grant for the safe schools. And it includes all 3 of the Burns schools, not just the ones in Pines. So.
What does that allow, that grant?
The grant is a planning grant. So he has it. I also yesterday got, I assume the judge did too, a notice from Michelle Owens, which gives an update on all the existing grants that are available,
Yeah.
some of which they expiration for closing dates occurred. When at the meeting, Michelle did know, even though those had occurred, you might, if there was something of real major interest, you probably could get it. Yeah. But you'd want to get on it now. So, and there's some substantial grants, $100 million one per vehicle, plugins, electric vehicle plugins.
So we're, the way I kind of took that was $100,000 available. So like if Harney County put in for 50,000 and somebody, I mean, is it one lump sum of $100 million, or is that just
it's 100 million available? So I assume
distributed probably?
Different values and.
Is that across the whole state? Or
It
just?
is for rural transportation. It's out of the Department of Transportation, so it's probably national.
So how do we know if anybody in our area, like Burns, Hines, obviously, the county has not applied for anything, makes applications for that? Do they have to notify the county in any way?
Nope.
Just to,
I was thinking it would be good if the cities and our roadmaster were folks that you all touch base with a lot. If you're the ones who are the official representatives, and if they can zoom in if they're allowed to, when there's a meeting, just in case. They don't meet that often.
No, they meet 6 times a year, every 2 months.
But I know what Commissioner Shellman's saying, is sometimes we have no idea someone's taken the initiative to apply for something that sometimes comes through, and the rest of us didn't even know it was in the works.
Yeah.
Know that.
There is, from what I understand, there is no requirement for notification. It's just hopefully Bill or I, Judge or I, will find out about. Or if Kirby finds out, if he would notify us, but I don't know, or Judy. So the city is down a person, and that their city manager and Judy Irwin are both on it. And now Judy is their acting city manager. She's their spot is it. So anyhow, I'll write a a letter to the editors and say, didn't put my last deal in, so I'll have to do it as a letter to the editors. So they'll publish.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Any other?
Mark Kennedy, I was asked recently where we are on childcare, on the childcare centers, and he said, I don't know, I want to scream. So I am.
We're not the child care center gurus.
Yeah, that, I would say if you want to speak with someone in great detail, you should probably contact Donna Schnitker or the Early Childhood Center, because they have been working on something over the years related to trying to have an in-person daycare center, and they just can't find the people to hire for it, and they don't want to hire someone who's going to hurry up and quit, just make it a revolving door. So last I heard, that was the stall on that. But as far as other things related to the regulations and the challenges, which in my view haven't changed over the years, they're still the same challenges. Peggy Yarber and Don Schnitker would be the two people. Who?
Donna is no longer with us.
But she still works for the ESD, and she lives, yes, but I visited with her during fair at the booth. She is still very much involved. She is not retired from there. They let her,
Yeah.
she has a role, and that is included in her role. Is kind of working with the child care resource and referral. Peggy Yarber.
I know High Desert Partnership also had a coalition or a focus group or whatever working on that topic. And the last Biz Harney meeting that I attended, they briefly touched on it, but they didn't really give a status update. They just said that it kind of stalled for a while, I think is what they had said. And they were changing focus because I think their original approach was they were looking for private ownership type of daycare, I believe. And because of the requirements, the licensing and everything, they're re-looking at some other options as far as like the school district or some other entity basically providing those services and maybe running it through them. It was a very brief kind of that's all they really said, but I will inquire and kind of see more where they're at with it.
I don't hear much traction at the state level on it. Just letting you know.
Any other public comment? All right, we have no old business, and that takes us to new business. And the first item under new business is the recent jail inspection by the Oregon State Sheriff's Association. And Lieutenant Worley, Sheriff Jenkins are here to give us an update on that.
All right, I'll kind of just start with, I think it was in 2019, former Sheriff Ward has sent a letter, or had it posted in Burns Times Herald, basically regarding the status of the jail due to its age and condition and the civil liability it presents. So fast forwarding today, we had the jail inspection that was just completed last week, and that was with the Oregon State Sheriff's Association. In May of 2022, we had the Department of Corrections inspection, passed that one. This one I won't steal their thunder, but it's the current one has passed at a very high percentage, and I'll let Lieutenant Worley say that percentage. So basically, one of the inspectors, a longtime inspector, Jeremy Jewell has been on this inspection team, and in the past he was called to Harney County for what he basically thought was a joke, because he had seen the condition of the jail, and they were called and they would assist with ways to prepare to pass, but they wouldn't actually get inspected. So he said he was very pleasantly surprised multiple times in person. I think Lieutenant Worley has an email with regard to that. So basically lots of hard work from the employees and the hours put in to band-aid the existing facility and bring it to what it is currently, to reduce civil liability. So We're still excited, working toward the new jail. And, I think Lieutenant Worley has sent out an invite, to all three, commissioners, to attend the, Justice Security Planning Team meeting, which was formerly known as the Jail Committee. So we can, go over the current status of the new jail project and the plans on how we're gonna proceed. Basically, the hard work and hours that Lieutenant Worley put on this, I know it was a lot, and her staff as well, and so kudos to them.
So I didn't bring over the actual report. I didn't know if you wanted to bring it up on Zoom or not. That's up to the county board if you want to actually see the stats.
Whatever you think would be best, we can access it and we'll get it in great detail ourselves, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So, we, at the end of the day, on Thursday, the 21st, we were at 98% with our score. So we had, 320 points that, they would like to get us, through. And so we had 3 partial findings and 1 full finding. The 3 partials, are pretty simple fixes. So we have until the 21st to fix anything that we want reflected on the report. And so those 3 will be fixed by the 21st. They'll actually be fixed by the end of the week. And then there will be 1 finding. So I'm hoping by the end of, by the October 21st, we'll be at 99%, getting all the points, and there's 320 points. So pretty excited about that. So the team was great. Yeah, so and then the other one that we're getting a finding on, the full finding, it's something that's pretty easy to fix. We just can't go back and do it. And so moving forward, we'll just make sure that we have that in order. So
The full finding item, you can't get credit for fixing it, basically.
right, yeah. And so, but it's something that it won't be much to get it fixed. Like we could really have it fixed in a week if we wanted to, but they won't let us go back.
Is there a reason not to say what these findings are at this time?
It's simulations. We need to run more simulation drills.
Oh.
So that's it. And I can't go back and say, oh, we do them, and you have to prove we do them. But our procedure was off. We do them in our trainings, but we aren't documenting them and making the reports. So I couldn't say, here's the report showing that we are doing simulation trainings. Even though the staff are doing simulation trainings and the field training officers are doing those trainings. So I can't go back and create that. So just moving forward, we'll just make sure that when we do a simulation that we document it.
What were the 3 minor ones?
Commissary inventory, that's in the process as we speak. Affordable Care Act, they're requesting that the health department come in and start interviewing the AICs to determine eligibility prior to release. And educational services, regarding trying to see if we can find somebody with the Department of Ed that could provide some education services. We did reach out to the Department of Education. All they're really recommending is that we provide an email to show that we've made the attempt. Most counties really struggle, I guess, with that standard from what the inspectors said. And so we have reached out, so we've already provided to show that we reached out. So that one is already going to be in compliance. They don't do GED testing through the high school in the Department of Education, so we would actually have to go through TVCC. So I don't know how that would look. It doesn't say in the standard that we have to have that service. It just says that we have to attempt to have that service. So the attempt's been made, so we'll be in compliance. And then the Affordable Care Act, I'm gonna get in touch with the health department and see if we can get something going.
You think that'll be a big lift for them?
For the health department? I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of we need to have the packets in the jail. And if, we ask that question upon inmate, intake of, do you need this service when you get released? And if they do, we can provide the packet and then just get it over to the health office. So I think it'll just be a simple procedure that we can put in place. Any questions?
Just that far exceeded. I mean, I have great faith in you and I've seen progress over the years, but that's just so outstanding that I'm very Please, to you. Good job. What, aside from that, were there any of the physical repairs and things like that that they called out or not too much?
Not too much. I think they were, from what it sounded like, especially from Jeremy Joel, who's with Benton County. They were so excited to see the jail in the way it is now versus the way it was. And so he said that he's sat me down in the office and was like, this is not the same facility. It looks completely different. It's operating the way it's supposed to be. You can tell there's been repairs. You guys didn't have a rec bill. He brought that up in the Sally Port and he's like, yeah. So we got lots of praise when they did their on-site inspection, so.
Well,
Great.
good, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Thank you.
It's exciting.
Any other questions? Comments?
No, just appreciate the update and we'll look forward to continuing that and.
I hope TVCC can help on that stuff. When they're, the people from Ontario come over to brief us, that they seem very, positive and wanting to work with us on things. And I wonder if there's if perhaps he mentioned to you on that educational piece for those county jails that actually do have that in place, which of the entities supported them for that, whether,
Right.
And to see if that path has been paved in other places. So people can't say, oh, we don't do that. Well, you can do that.
One of the hard parts that we'll have is the infrastructure of the facility. Getting the program up and running is something that we could support at the county or the jail level. But we just don't have the space to provide a GED class or a study room or a testing room. And so that in itself is difficult, so.
Well, and how long would you have to have them in custody for that to really be successful?
Correct.
And,
Doable.
Right.
local or not.
Right, yeah,
There's a lot of nuances there with timing.
absolutely.
In some respects, then, is that a matter of being able to hand them a packet, kind of like for the healthcare side of things, when they're released? Look, here's some options, some resources for education to get your GED or whatever.
Absolutely, and maybe starting some study groups inside the jail, so that way they could study.
Yeah.
And even if they can't get the actual exam scheduled while they're in custody, at least kind of start laying that foundation. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
This is just an infrastructure question. Has there been any plans to fix as you're entering from the outside into the sheriff's office, that square overhang?
On the front side. I know it was reported to maintenance that last year with the snow, it was dripping down and kind of. There was some too on the Court Street side of the building, just down from the glass entrance. Where wind or storm or something, whatever the stucco or coating on the outside is, some of that has come off. And
I'd really like to see that overhang thing fixed before the more snow.
true.
It sounded
fall
very
on somebody's
strangely
head,
dangerous.
short circuit electricity.
I will contact the maintenance supervisor and have him look into this stuff before our weather starts to turn bad.
I do have this email if anyone wants to review it, run it down.
Would you like it entered in the record?
Sure.
Well, if I were your boss, I'd say take the day off.
There you go.
I mean, you have to backfill it.
I know.
It'll be horrible chaos. If Congress can be in chaos.
Right.
The Justice Jail Project meeting, I have it in my calendar as an all-day event.
No, it's 1:30.
1:30? Okay, it came through as, I don't know why, in the invite or when I plugged it in or something. But anyway, 1:30?
1:30, yeah.
Okay,
1:30 to 3:30, I think is what it said.
Yeah, I just figured it'd probably be a little long because it's been a while since we've met, and so, and the agenda's pretty large, so. I need to get everybody up to speed on everything, so.
And then,
Came through at 1:30.
okay, I don't know, I'm looking at the other day, I'm like, why do I have an all-day event? And what is that? So I don't know. Anyway, is Strollo
Yes.
invited to that?
Mhm.
Okay.
They're gonna be attending via Zoom or via GoToMeeting.
Okay, our focus this year on economic development and our contractors has changed a little bit, so we're getting them involved in some of our capital projects. As far as, I mean, an extra set of eyes and just people with experience is just for consult and whatnot. So I'm going to forward it to Mr. Smith, our economic development contractor. He has a member on his staff that has done some pretty big capital projects.
Okay.
And again, just to have more points of perspective or whatever there. So I will forward it on to them. And
I was gonna ask also, so will it be only in person or will it be Zoom as well?
It's in person, but I did do a GoToMeeting link on there for the people that couldn't attend in person that wanted to attend.
And if appropriate, and let me know, but I'm Justin Stranzel of, I forget what the name of his company is, but he's always at the AMC annual conference with a booth. Over the years, he's just stayed in touch with me. Their company does that stuff. You know, he's not pushy or anything at all, but if he or one of his staff want to just listen in case they can contact people later if we need additional folks who want to offer good things to us. If you don't want that, that's fine too. I've just stayed in touch with him a little bit. His company does that stuff.
I know a lot of work has been done already, and it's not my intent to redirect or start over from scratch in any way, shape, or form. But I think it's important to do our due diligence in making sure that any potential options that might be more beneficial or cost effective or whatever should be considered. So I think it's.
Can I make a statement to that? So that was part of our initial, we went through a master plan and we studied all the properties that were available to us.
Yeah, and
To my knowledge, that are still, that would still be on the table,
Yeah.
and the whole team went through each of those properties and we listed them kind of, you know, from top to bottom, and we went through each one and kind of did a pros and cons list for each one, and the one that was the best is the one that was decided with the team.
Okay.
And I was thinking more if another entity zoomed in or whatever, they would be more of the type who could also offer the funding pathway. You know, they know where the grants are, they know where some opportunities are for the funding, not necessarily that they would change any design path, if you want that.
This firm does that as well, so I'm not sure. I don't know, that's outside of my wheelhouse.
And it might not be bad, like you said, keep our ear open for options, you know, if those people wanna attend and listen in. But that's what we're hoping at the
Right.
meeting is provide a status update on, you know, kind of what we have gone over in the past and it came to where we are now.
The contractors, subcontractors we have for the broadband action team and network are they changed their name, they're growing to Rural Prosperity Partners. And when they're in town for our broadband action team meeting this month, we're gonna present the rapid design study. They're moving along with stuff, but part of what they are really good at, and they don't do just broadband, is knowing where the money is and knowing how to write successful grants and things. And they said, when we're in town, is there anything else you want to talk to us about or show us in addition to the broadband? And I'll be talking to county court about their thoughts on that. But, you know, I know in general, the Jail Justice Center, the fairgrounds and the broadband are kind of our three areas of focus beyond the daily business. And I just want to offer, if you're open to another set of eyes, that they might just say, no, that's really not what we can help you with, or they, you know, not look at them to be, you know, trying to hammer you to contract with them or anything at all. It's just so far I've been very pleased with them, what they've But they
The Stroll Architects, like, Warren said, does do that. They specialize in building fields, at least nationwide, and what they get beyond. But they're very well versed and experienced in what grants are available. Stuff like that.
Yeah, these folks have a kind of a rural focus, just, you know.
Anything else? Jail related topic? Issue? Anything?
No, because it's squared away.
It's squared away. I like hearing that.
All right, thank you very much and
Thank you.
congratulations again.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate the hard
Thank
work.
you. Thanks.
Next topic is a Water Council yearly update from Ms. Moon.
How are you today? Tammy, were you able to get the? Okay,
Yep, I just got this one.
I know I sent it late yesterday afternoon. It's quarterly report due dates the beginning of this week, so it's been rather busy. But yeah, as we talked earlier a while ago, I think I will try to move my schedule back to come earlier, because this update is technically about the year 2022, so. Anyway, but yes, Watershed Council has been busy and continuing with water planning. I think at the point where we were at the end of 2022, we were finishing up our groundwater portion and it was going for review with the Water Resources Department with their interagency team, which has gone on. I guess in the flyer here, I did kind of include some of 2023, so next spring and then we talk about it again. And to remind you that when the Watershed Council started 25 years ago, the county court was the entity that recognized the council, which is part of the state statute for watershed councils, that a local entity needs to recognize them in order to become an entity, to become a group. And part of that requirement is to report yearly on what you've been up to. So that's why you get to hear from me every year. And this year, I'm sorry, it totally fell off the radar, and I was in the process of writing the final report for the previous biennium, and it's like, well, shoot, I have to do this. So, anyway, so water planning is still continuing on. At this current time, there are 2 federal grants that are supporting water planning through the Watershed Council. And we're very pleased with them. There's been a lot of solutions coming up, and some of them are being implemented. Our Kearney groundwater prep proposal is just about ready to take applications. Anyway, and we'll still remind people that in the very beginning, a number of years ago, we had an Anderson Perry feasibility study. And perhaps in the future with the groundwater and the 512 rules, maybe we need to revisit that and go back to discussing if there's help for domestic well users that are experiencing problems. Part of that study looked into costs for implementing things like cisterns or grouping wells together for the community well at Crane. And then I think if I remember correctly, part of the results were there was a proposal that there were several places just outside the cities of Burns and Hines that could possibly benefit if they needed to from joining with cities on their water supplies. So if that's of interest, we can go back to that direction. NRCS has a good program for helping irrigators change their sprinkler packages if they'd like to convert to LISA or LIPA systems. Let's see. Our Open ET grant did finally close. That was the grant that had the eddy variant stations here, and that was ground truthing the agreement stations as well, and starting the Open ET platform. And I really hope that in the future we can remember to continue to promote that so that irrigators can actually benefit from the use of that program.
How would you suggest promoting it?
Well, you know, we struggle with that all the time. We'll continue to put it on the webpage. We'll bring it up at meetings.
You need to have handouts somewhere on.
And I have handouts at the office and I try to, I guess I haven't brought them with to water planning meetings lately, but I can do that. Irrigators need to be interested in using more technology, I guess, to access that.
I haven't looked on our website. Do we have a good link to the Watershed Council and if you have a document, a handout, a flyer, whatever that you want also prominently where they don't even have to put, just let
I can do
let
that.
Tammy Renfro know and we can see what we can.
Yep, I can do that.
So when you said that grant closed, what's the trajectory in the future for the eddy conversion stations now that grant is closed?
Water Resources had found money to continue with the station. The one station out at Owens Farm is still there in operation. A year ago, the station out at the Mount Deerfield Station had developed problems, and instead of trying to repair it, they removed the station from there. That was the one recording evapotranspiration in a native, sagebrush setting. But there was a lot of interest from Water Resources to continue the one in Owens Field. And when we took the field tour with the Water Resources Commission last week, I did get a picture. It's like the eddy covariant station and the Agrement station are right next to each other, so.
And are those, by just having the one location, is that enough of a sampling, so to speak?
There's another location.
There's
Are
a
those
second
enough for our
Agrement
base?
station at the research center here.
No, that's all we got, but we got something.
We have two. And I know at one point there was interest in placing more Agrement stations within the basin, and I think it would be helpful to have them. I think, if I remember right, the reason they weren't, supportive, because people were interested in hosting more. It's a personnel issue within Bureau of Rec.
Yeah, that there's really only one gal that does it
Yeah.
for this whole.
For the whole Northwest region.
Yeah.
She covers Washington, Idaho,
It was insane.
Oregon, Nevada, I think,
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
massive amount of territory for one
for her
person.
to cover. So
That's a limitation for sure.
it is.
Yeah, because we talked about potentially putting some towards south end of the county as
Right.
well, because there's a data gap there.
Mhm.
And it was just
Right.
a no-go at the time, but it's still necessary to really close the gap with information in the future.
It is.
Do you know if during rulemaking and planning going forward to critical areas that get designated as critical groundwater areas, et cetera, if that would help fund or provide additional if needed in some of those areas? Or maybe that's not the tool you want there, I don't know.
No, I don't think that would go. I think there are people out there that would host Agrement stations. I mean, the Watershed Council supports the one at the research center. Owens Hay is paying for the maintenance for that one. It's $1,600 a year. And I think there is funding. There's entities that would be happy to host more Agrement stations. It's really up to Bureau of Rec to
Wow.
allow more.
Okay.
But yes, in rulemaking. Let's see. Anyway, yes, the Open ET monitoring program. Is, I think that was really good. It was, and it helped all across the West, not, Open ET covers all of the western states and not just Harney County, but using Harney County as a case study. Was very beneficial for the groundwater study here. So. moving forward. The Watershed Council is still very much partner in the Harney Basin Wetlands Collaborative. At this point in time, it's not the 22, but they are working to put a second focused investment application together to OWEB. With it not being successful, the application last year, the Watershed Council, the SWCD and High Desert Partnership all put a number of our, when you're going to, one of the focus that we work on the most is the irrigation infrastructure updates for the wet meadow habitat, for bird habitat. And actually, those of us here were quite successful this last year in getting our design technical assistant grants for several new projects. The Watershed Council received a TA for designing 5 Mile Dam. Our contractor's been hired. They will be here shortly. After their initial review, then they're planning for a meeting to get together with the water users, local landowners right around there to start discussing more of that, which may be interesting.
Yeah, I heard a little tidbit on that, that ownership of the dam is in question.
It is. I mean,
A little tidbit.
at least on my part, it's like nobody wants to claim ownership of the dam. It's like, and it's hard, there's private property on one side, there's BLM, and they both don't want to claim what's in the middle of the river. So I'm not really.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing until
I
the
didn't
other
know
day.
And in talking with both Jason Street and with Dally, it's like, well, the thing we could do is just go to the water, the people that use the dam, the people that have the diversions out of the dam.
The assessors. Tax office,
I
no,
haven't tried the
ownership
assessor's
and
office.
land, yeah, you might want to check.
I can check there too, as well. What I'm hoping for is that, we can find the grant funding. We've listed in our the application isn't submitted yet for the focused investment, but we would try to include funds for replacing the dam through that process. We still do have to have some match dollars, but I know we were very successful with both the Sweet Dam and the Tyler Dam that the Watershed Council was part of through the FIP process. There's another, a lot more other funding that comes in to help support that as well. And those dollars could be used as match so that landowners didn't have to contribute, to a great degree. So that's the hope for. 5 Mile Dam will be more expensive than either one of those. It's a bigger structure.
It's not more complicated, just larger.
It is larger.
It's possible the ownership answer may exist here in this building, but you might want to ask.
I'll ask again. I did it was kind of a last minute ask last year when I was putting the application in. And then wait and see, are you gonna be funded? Are you not gonna be funded? So, but we'll move forward and it will be a process. And yes, we will eventually determine who actually. I still haven't, the other item I haven't been able to find out is exactly when the dam was put in.
Wow.
So,
I just say, well, that you think that would be information that can be found out.
well,
Without too much effort.
I'm sure it's probably in the Sylvie's decree somewhere,
Yeah, I think it is.
but it had a different name. And it was different ownership, and I need to spend more time tracking that down, I guess, so. Anyway, so also through the surface water portion of the plan, the Watershed Council and Ken Bearley has come up with 2 projects that are funded through our federal dollars. We've contracted actually with Kleinschmidt, who did your FEMA flood mapping, and they are working to select 3 proposed flow hydrograph scenarios for low, medium, and high flow years. And I don't quite understand it all, how they're gonna do it, but it should help Water Resources Department and irrigators to know like under a high flow year. With this much snowpack, or, I mean, it's all big conglomeration. This much water will be coming down, and according to water rights, you should expect water to go here.
Maybe they'll be as accurate as weather forecasters on that.
Perhaps, anyway, but it's been interesting working with them and listening to them.
No, I think that's awesome.
And trying
to model it out.
trying to model it so that you know that on a low water year, this is all the water you're going to get. And, you know, I mean, we already know, and I'm sure those who are familiar who irrigate kind of know where it should go. But I think that sometimes regulators and others, to have a
Like you
model,
say, anytime you get someone new in the system, that
right,
historic knowledge has
Right.
to be
has to be passed
reinstilled,
on
yeah.
and reinstalled, so. One other interesting note that has come out of surface water planning is the notion to try to perhaps hold water up in the uplands more, you know, more to create more flow for midsummer and late summer use. And one of those projects is possibly using beavers and dams. And so the other project that is, we're still working with the professor to get a contract in place, but to have someone who will, they'll use satellite image and maybe a quick, although I'm not sure the on the ground truthing will be as easy as what we thought it was going to be. They're gonna use satellite data to try to determine where in the uplands of the Sylvies beaver are, what the habitat could look like, where would it be prudent to try to promote, you know, habitat for beaver to expand their range or whatever.
How
And-
does the bill that Sylvie's Ranch was able to get through the legislature a few years ago, the Beaver Bill, how does that play into this project?
I don't know for sure. I need to go back and read through that beaver
Because it
bill.
gave Harney County special consideration to be able to do imitation beaver structures
Sure.
that weren't allowable prior to
Right.
that.
Right, and I know there's been just a few projects up there.
Yeah, it was kind of their bill.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been a few that have been sent through a web small grant program to try to enhance those. I am not sure if we ran out of money last biennium before, or if the one was, I'd have to go back and
I'd
look
be
see if
curious
one
to
was
know a little
completed.
more about any of that got put in place and, you know, if they're
I'll go back and look.
seeing what they wanted out of them.
I did that final report like 6 months ago, so it's not coming back to my brain. Anyway, our challenge with getting this contract going, and this will all be modeling and like I said, satellite review and whatever. Our challenge is gonna be because the professor we are working with moved at the end of August from University of California in Merced to the University of Minnesota. So she is still more than willing. It's all, you know, satellite information and whatever, so that we're waiting through trying to get a contract through with the University of Minnesota. So, but we're working on it.
Is
And
this similar to the remote sensing that the refuge is engaging in at all?
no,
It's different type of
It's-
remote sensing data.
I think they're mostly going to be, they're gonna be looking at past satellite data. From my understanding. We haven't had our first meeting yet, so, but those questions will be asked. I included High Desert Youth Range Camp and our college camp in here. We had all the good intentions. We were gonna hold camp this year, at least the college camp this year. And about a week before camp was supposed to happen, Chad called me, he said, Erin, it is so muddy out there, we can't even get to the conference room, so we canceled camp. We have,
It was that year.
it was that year, yeah. Because we were all ready to start hauling stuff out there and there was still just so much, and there were still piles of snow out there, and I knew even trying to get up that little hill to the conference room. And yeah, it probably wouldn't have worked, so we were all disappointed. Small grant projects, and I should have looked more at the projects. I believe there were 11 projects over the previous biennium that were funded. The SWCD was go-getters. They had all of the grants. They had several solar pump projects. They did have some other like riparian projects. And the one was the Beaver Dam analogs. But like I said, I don't remember if that one actually was funded at the very end or if it was the one that we ran out of funding for, so, but I will look that up.
Yeah.
Right in the process of getting the team together to develop our bylaws and priorities and schedule for the next biennium, and OWEB should be voting to fund the small grant program at their meeting end of October, beginning of November. And I think that's what I have for you.
Sounds good. I always like to ask about the boards and council, because, you know, the organization, and it is as strong as your board often.
And we do, we need, I think I still have 4 open seats on them.
In the sub-basin positions. and the
Sub-basin
Forest
positions.
Service Advisory.
And Forest Service.
Is that a hard one to fill?
It is a hard one to
They have
fill.
been grossly understaffed.
They don't have time and they seem to rotate people a lot.
And I feel like the citizen positions are understaffed as well, in that people are so busy and struggling a lot these days on the stuff they need to do for their own
Yeah.
work and enterprise, that it might be hard to get volunteers sometimes to commit.
It is, since COVID, it's still been really hard. And I put a post out on Facebook recently, and I think we need to focus more. We need to turn our focus back to, you know, and I mean, ideally, I actually am gonna push the council a little bit more to maybe go to meet every other month instead of every month. I feel like council meetings are boring. We have water planning, we get the update.
Yeah,
on the
so
city.
water planning wasn't happening on a monthly basis, because that's where I tend to interact the
Right.
most. Because a lot of what we discuss there
Right.
gets also discussed
In
in
the
the other
election,
meeting.
at the
So
council meeting, right?
it has some redundancy there,
It is redundant for members that are
participating in both.
participating in both.
Which even your Forest Service, I would say the Forest Service does interact in some
In
regard with
some-
the community-based water planning, especially with Tony's efforts. With the upland document that
Right.
he's created, that's where the Forest Service is really intersecting with
Right.
this and looking at retreating specific drainages due to Tony's work that he's submitted
Mhm.
through that. And so, you know, the Forest Service may not be in the room, but they're still involved in the conversation, you know, in some regards.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think the board's too big as far as the positions, or?
I don't think as far as OWEB requirements, it could be any smaller. Because the requirement is to have a balance of interests throughout, and like I said in my Facebook post, I said, you know, really ideally, all I'm asking for is 2 hours people's time once a month, and we have Zoom. So, but we'll keep looking, and I just probably need a few ideas of different people to maybe go sit down and have a cup of coffee with, and instead of making the general announcement, it's like go target a few specific people and say, hey, you want to help? But yes.
What, if anything, do you ask of us? That's
Keep
reasonable.
participating. Keep participating.
Just a comment as far as volunteering, that, you know, so many of the people that you meet there are so far out, just like myself.
Mhm.
Every time, you know, I mean, you're not just talking about 2 hour meeting, you're talking about.
Well,
4
no,
hours.
she's,
I know,
she's
okay.
got Zoom I've zoomed in
Yeah.
to the meetings before.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was part of it.
It's hybrid meetings.
And I had, I know when my office was up here, I offered for people that were farther out, I had offered to pay mileage to do that. And someone recently asked me, why did you stop that? I said, well, we're no longer in the courthouse. I have to pay it for the office, so. So I can't offer mileage to drive up from Fields once a month. But I do understand that it takes time. And it's not for lack of efforts. Both Jason at the SWCD and I have both, we've contacted some of the schools down there. We don't ever really get an answer. It's like, if someone doesn't have great internet at home, could they come to the school and use your internet for 2 hours to join a meeting? We just haven't been successful in getting an answer from people about that. We have made we made a trip to Fields last year. But yeah, in 2022, we did go down and have a joint meeting down there. We did hear a little bit about concerns from the community down there. I think that's when the land trust was taking over the one ranch down there as well. And we try to work down there as much as we can as well too. Sometimes it's difficult to get funding for. It seems easier to get funding for the northern half of the county rather than the south half.
I think the land trust was very successful in their endeavors to do.
I think they were. So, which was, that's fine. I won't inject personal hopes into that. We'll just, hopefully they'll do good things and be good neighbors.
Well, thank you.
Just one quick, once the community water planning process and the rules advisory and the final things come out in the next couple of years from the water planning. What do you see your organization's role, if any, in that?
I think council members need to start talking about that. We've had a few discussions with the executive committee about what will we do.
But I mean, will you guys have a role?
We are really being
Not
hopeful to.
talking about the monitoring or whatever happens.
I think more when it comes to, you have your critical issues, but then you have your strategies, and for those strategies to ever move forward, it's gonna take the watershed councils. Efforts because
implement some of
community-based water planning is funded through the state for a period of time until all the deliverables are in, but then
Right.
those strategies that come out of that process are what
Are more
really
projects.
groups like, the partnerships, collaboratives, as well as your group will continue to lean in on
Right.
to try to see
Yep.
through.
Yep, we will. Might have to go back to some more Juniper projects. Although the SWCD does a good job.
Yeah, they're really hitting it home on this.
They are, and that was, part of that was, NRCS came, the Sage Grouse money was through NRCS, and it's still going strong. So, it don't want to compete,
No, and then
They're all doing
the
good work.
wildfire funds that are also, matched with juniper removal. It was kind of good timing
Right,
to be able to achieve more funding that way.
yep, so that was just taking a step back and going in a different direction, and we'll do that again. Continue, but I'm hoping that for the future. Water planning, things are changing, and I hope we can be a part of that as well.
Is a strategic plan from the council anything that you actually do at some point or not?
Yes,
They've done.
and we are in need of updating our strategic plan again. The strategic plan for the last 3 years kind of focused on more. Getting the name of the council out there more. I am not sure we were totally successful, but. We all kind of look at each other and go, we have to do this again. Strategic planning is like pulling teeth sometimes.
And I always say this. Have you been on the radio or anything?
I did a while ago, probably need to do it again. Happy that she makes it very easy because I'm real happy to be the person in the background, you know, doing the computer stuff, getting the meetings going and not being the person up front talking, which probably isn't good since I'm the only employee, but
Who's your chair?
Jamie McCormick right now. So. Anyway, but onward we go.
All righty. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And I have your agenda now, so I can go upload that and submit my support final report. Yay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next topic is order of appointment in the matter of appointing a pool of members for the Harney County Board of Property Tax Appeals. Just a pool to draw from should there be any appeals filed regarding property taxes in this tax year. It is in the order it appoints myself and Commissioner Shellman to be appointed members of the chairperson's pool for the Harney County Board of Property Tax Appeals. Term shall begin October 4th and end June 30th. And it is also so ordered per this order of appointment that Marty Stewart and Julie Schwekar Sekar be appointed members of the non-office holding pool for Harney County Board of Property Tax Appeals.
And have they both been contacted?
I will have to check with the clerk because Miss Adelberger
Had
serves
sent out
as the,
email.
yeah, she serves as the Board of Property Tax Appeals clerk. So I'll ask her.
Okay, we can just double check.
Again, same term, October 4th to June 30th. And we had 2 appeals last year. One of which was appealed to the state level, and we still haven't heard of a ruling back on it yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Last I knew anyway.
Is there kind of a backlog probably at the state level of appeals?
I don't know. I don't know. It was just seemed like it's kind of weird. I think they've heard it at the state level, but they haven't given a
Final
decision.
Can it be remanded back down at all? In that process?
I
can't
think,
quite remember from our training. They
Yeah.
mentioned that.
I think at the state level, they would just uphold the ruling or the decision made at the local level. Unless there was some kind of a major procedural error or something that they remanded it back to the local jurisdiction to rehear it again. But I don't believe that's, that wasn't part of the appeal, so.
And at this time, this is the correct name of the board. In January, it's gonna change to the Property Values Appeals Board.
Yeah, and I was,
Last I read, and again, this is accurate for now. It hasn't changed yet. As far as BOPTA or PVAB. All these things.
could you go ask, see if Tammy's available real quick, like she's more in touch with the.
Um,
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning.
A couple questions on the Board of Property Tax Appeals members. Because it's gonna change, the name of it's gonna change in January. So under the current name, is this what we need to have listed?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the 2 citizen members, have they been notified or they said that they were willing to serve again?
Yep.
Okay.
And then Patty said she didn't want to be on it again.
Yep,
That's why.
she asked me.
I was
said,
wondering.
"Oh, I'll let them be on it. I have a lot, we all have a lot on our plate, but with the broadband and all the AOC things that I seem to be active in now, on behalf of Harney County, thank you both for your service.
It's all right, got it.
Maybe some other year.
I will just verify, I was just saying that the one appeal that, or of the two appeals that we had last year, one was appealed to the state level.
Mhm.
And last I've heard, there's been no ruling on that, is
I
that?
haven't heard anyone on it either.
Do you anticipate the annual types of training that they do for the people appointed to these boards that from the,
From the state, yeah,
okay.
And we'll get those notifications?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah, we should very soon.
okay,
After, January 1st, I think is when but they usually tell me a little bit in advance.
okay.
Thank you
A
very much.
refresher would be good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so I can make a motion in the matter of order of appointment and in the matter of appointing a pool of members for the Harney County Board of Property Tax Appeals. So I will make a motion to appoint myself, Commissioner Shellman, on the chairperson pool, and Marty Stewart and Julie Sekar from members of the non-office holding pool for Harney County Board of Property Tax Appeals.
I second.
And the motion's been made and seconded in the matter of appointment of a pool of members for the Harney County Board of Property Tax Appeals. And it's been seconded. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed? And hearing none, motion carries.
I remember this was one of the first orders of business when I was new on the court, and so I had them do my legal
Official?
remains, so that's fine.
And the next topic up, I just wanted to briefly put it on the agenda and discuss the fairgrounds capital project update. First off, is there, as the liaison to the fair board, do you want to
Yeah, I
speak to
can-
it any first, and then we can
Yeah.
have questions afterwards?
Yeah, so as we're looking at trying to get ready to put out the RFP for the whole project, we need to get some civil accomplished, and so we contracted with Overland to be able to, within the next 60 days, provide the actual civil work that we need to go into the contract of, you need to move the water line this far, you need to move the electrical in this direction, add capacity here, here's the door sizes, here's color of the building. All those kind of details that have to go into the actual RFP, so that when you get your RFPs back, you're comparing apples to apples. And so whatever contractor submits a bid, they know exactly what they're contracting for. And so this is that next step. Craig did mention that he reached out to Curly Love Lady as well, just to get a second opinion on that. And he said, yes, this is the next appropriate step for you guys to be able to achieve an RFP that you can actually get successful bids back from and be able to digest what comes to you as far as a bid package. And so keeping it in motion, obviously permits and everything else will be part of the civil process. And so getting that in place with the state, because the state will be the ones that do the permitting process. And so our local planning department is engaged in starting that file and helping begin the permit process. And so just trying to, like say, keep everything in motion. It is moving along, and I know it seems like a slow process, but I'm actually quite excited to be at this point where we can get that kind of civil work accomplished, especially before the weather turns, where that last year was a nightmare just to get the surveying done. It took an additional 30 days. And so I think it's really good timing to have this piece accomplished and then be able to get the RFP out in a format that Fair Board will actually be able to look at what comes back and know that everybody had the specific details of the project that they needed to know what they were bidding on.
Yeah.
And so, I'm really actually hopeful as, the jail project moves forward and other, potential projects that the county has. I think we're learning quite a bit through this process that we're engaging, because Harney County has not engaged in these type of projects in so long that
The knowledge base is not.
the
there.
knowledge base was not there. And so it's been a little bit painful in some regards, just not having those resources. But like I say, we've been fortunate that, some local contractors have, shared a lot of knowledge and best practice with us. And Overland's been very good to work with in trying to achieve what we need to be able to move forward.
I had mentioned to you in the past about engaging again our economic development contractor in these processes, in these discussions. And that last meeting, the special meeting that they had after the fair on the 18th, I think it was, or something like that, somewhere
It
around there.
seems like it. Yeah, I think I overlooked him being invited, to be honest.
Yeah, and I have too, even
Yeah, like
even
he's
for
talked about
Monday's
it, but-
meeting, and but I gotta get them engaged
Well,
in it.
I'd actually talked to Lindsay about that, and I think I told her I would send her his email, and then I did not. So I will get that to her.
Okay, okay.
And because she and I had that conversation, she said, yeah, that sounds great.
And it's purely for that perspective of that
But
knowledge base.
I dropped the ball in providing that to her, to be
Yeah, that's all
honest,
right,
and
'cause
bringing
I-
that up.
I could have done myself as well, so and I dropped the ball.
I'll make
But-
a note of that too.
but,
actually get the-
Like I
and
say, purely for that reason, for
Which
that knowledge base.
staff is it?
I think it's Ryan
Right.
is the one that has the capital projects.
Ryan Bailey is the
Bailey.
one supporting the broadband action team perspective, and he's on our bat. He's gonna be here for the October 17th broadband action team meeting in person.
So I might have Lindsay make connections and see if he could drop down and visit with her and maybe walk the property with her.
Yeah,
At that
yeah,
point.
get some
I'll be
background.
out of town that day, but. Lindsay
Some
would be
background
able
and
to.
base information on it.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder.
Yeah. And again, I mentioned that for that purpose, because
Yeah,
of the
well, I
knowledge
had
base
that
and
discussion with
what-
her and I never said true. I think so.
so, I zoomed in or Google Teams in, whatever, in this past fair board meeting. I know on the special meeting that they had mid-month after fair, there was discussion about when to start construction, whether to do it this fall or this spring after winter, after the building's been acquired and everything, whatever, or waiting till after the next fair and starting to demolition and everything right after the next fair.
Mhm.
But I hadn't heard what they decided.
What they're proposing at this point, especially with the weather forecast for this winter, is to not do anything major until after the 2024 fair. So get through the 100th. The only thing that may come down in between that time would be the exhibit building that is no longer in use, which would be,
Yeah, and anything they can do in the interim to speed up the
something,
processes.
and that's where once let me back up just one step. That type of demo, there's a lot of companies that'll actually do it either at their cost or pay you a little bit for buildings like that due to the type of tin that's on them. And so the Fair Board's reached out to two different companies that do that kind of work and are trying to, get some more information. And so that's one of those where if you can save
Recycling
money,
materials.
recycling the material versus if you have a contractor just coming and doing the likelihood of them wanting to take the time to tear them down and repurpose them is greatly diminished due to a time crunch. And so we're looking at trying to engage some of these companies that actually come in and just completely salvage the material. A lot of this is, in their eyes, very valuable material. And this particular tin is extremely valuable in most people's eyes because it's the better type of tin.
Has that aged patina on it too.
Well, it has aged patina and it's just so much better quality than the current tin that's.
Okay, so I hadn't heard on that point what they had decided to do.
That's
Actually,
what
I
I'm
was
looking
hoping-
at. If you had a completely open winter, like we have had some years, that could be a potential discussion, but right now that is not the forecast we're looking at. So not trying to second guess Mother Nature, but knowing that she's very volatile at times.
I'm glad to hear, it. You can do it right. I heard that I zoomed in on the September 18th meeting and I heard that discussion and I didn't know, what the final thing was. I saw a letter to the editor of the paper that was good letter. So I think that's why.
Yeah, it's just, like I say, this is one of those processes where you're just inching forward, trying to just keep gaining ground on the project and looking at all the variables that, you have to take into consideration because of the amount of use at the grounds.
And there's plenty of room out there if they buy the building, get locked in at a price.
Yeah, that you can
There's
set it
room to-
aside.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
room to lay it down out there, and then once demolition and construction starts, it's all right there and ready to go.
All your
You're not waiting
material can be
anything.
on site,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and that's what's nice is we do have a section of ground where all that can be
Yeah.
brought on site.
And I would offer the same thing. Again, I'm not trying to push this contractor. It's just that I'm extremely pleased with their expertise. And when Rural Prosperity Partners come for the broadband stuff, they said, if you have any other stuff you want to let us know about so that we can let you know if we can ever do anything for you, should you want us to. Beyond the fair aspect of the fairgrounds, but indeed the emergency management and other aspects, general use aspects of the fairgrounds, I think they might
know, if
be
they
really
have some
good
ideas.
for letting us, they could say, we'll look into it and tell you what kind of funding is fairly readily available for what purposes in case the county court wants to start planning that kind of thing.
And I think that they should have a work session with the fair board if they have some ideas that way, to let, do a little homework and.
I haven't asked them any of this yet.
Yeah,
I'm just
so
saying.
You might.
I
and then
mean, they
have
might
them
say,
sit down
no,
with-
that's really not, I mean, they're not gonna say, what, at whatever cost, try to get involved, they'll let you know, but they are at a really good level of acquiring the right pathways to accomplish multiple goals. So, anyway, I
Yeah,
just
ask
offer
them
that
more
as a
questions,
conversation when they're here. I told Judge Hart, if you were gonna be here that day, that after the broadband action team meeting, which goes from like 9 to 10 or 10:30 at the community center, then we can just stick around with them, and have a general conversation around that stuff. If they want to go just eyeball the fairgrounds, eyeball the justice, before they leave, then Susan Christensen, who they work for, she's our contractor actually, will take them around Harney County to see some of the, nothing like seeing where we're asking broadband to reach and stuff, and they're gonna be driving around that
They
day.
should contact even the kids club because yes, the building is, got funding, but any other programs that could come into the building.
Okay.
There's funding. in
All right,
rural
that's another one.
areas Would be, opportunity.
And then the next day they will give a brief. It won't be as in-depth on the rapid design study for the
Should
for the
they,
county court.
should they be included or invited to the jail justice update?
No, I don't, well,
And
maybe,
because there's
yeah,
gonna be a lot of background information there that would help.
I'll ask, yeah, I'll contact them and say,
If there's.
because, I don't know if they could and have time to do that, but it would definitely be an opportunity. If they
Yeah.
want to at least hear, they'll hear a lot more by doing that than what you and I can tell them when they're here.
Yeah.
Oh, because we will, and I visited a little bit with Roxanne about this. There's match money out there with the USDA for jails, and that's what we're going to need to go out for to achieve this project. And so obviously Stroll's,
Community
written
development
those
grants.
before, and so any company that has background in that is obviously a viable partner.
I know they're
Well,
really,
I mean, if they're, we could use a portion of the monies that we have set aside as match funds.
Yeah.
The PILT funds,
Yeah.
the one-time PILT payment funds.
That's what I'm
those would
talking
be-
about.
Would be
We
match
never
funds.
had match funds available to go out
Yeah.
for them, and so now that we actually do. They're, I think, got a March deadline, and so between now and then, we need to get those applications in motion. Because we actually know that we have match where, let's say before, we had no match to go out for these.
And I know-
I will say, And just with our experience with the EPA grants and the brownfield process, and I've talked to other counties and county college and everything, the USDA processes are very cumbersome. Very cumbersome, so we're gonna need to have somebody on top of them
That's experience.
that's experienced and knows how to deal with those grants.
Agreed. And I believe Rural Prosperity Partners. They really, their known expertise is for things that drive economic development. However, these are things they can always say, not really, or I just figured they're gonna be here. We're gonna, I'm pleased with the relationship so far and for them, having an interest in Harney County beyond just the broadband. For when it's appropriate.
So, next topic, or well, not next topic, but same topic, further discussion. I have to say myself personally, and I'm speaking for myself here, at this point. The process in the 8 months, 9 months that I've been in office, the process with the there's our.
They're 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can't trust government,
3 minutes early,
And you didn't get it.
because I turned them both off.
Right.
That was short and sweet.
In the process, in the planning process, the design process and everything by the Fair Board. I don't believe that the county court has been allowed to be engaged in that process to the level that we should have been. The county fairgrounds belongs to the county. It's county property, it's public property. And the county court is responsible for that property. The Fair Board through ORS 565 has the authority to manage and do these kind of projects. But we also have an MOU with them that specifically states that capital improvement projects will be planned cooperatively between the Harney County Court and the Fair Board. Quote unquote. In saying that and in reading that, I don't believe myself in the last 9 months that the court has really had a say in those planning anything. And let me back up too with the caveat that I'm not opposed to this event facility or what the potential of it is for Harney County in any way, shape, or form. But the planning process has not been inclusive with the county court, I feel. Just my.
I'd push back on that because we've had a lot of work sessions, they've all been public meetings. You guys have zoomed in or came to Fair Board meetings, I don't know what more. you
But
could do.
but if I didn't go to the Fair Board meetings, I wouldn't have been included in any way.
Having us present at Fair Board meeting is not the same.
It's not,
Because the liaison is not to be. The county court is represented because we have a county court liaison on this board. They are a board, we are a board, governing board, and. The couple of times they've come and given an update, that's more like.
But
the
you have
inclusion
telling us what they've already
or
decided they're gonna
saying-
do.
You also went through your documents and shared with them your thoughts. I mean, what other form of communication did you guys?
Conversation
They
in
had
person.
here.
I had I had no
this
say,
conversation.
wait, no, I had no say as a member of this board on the citing of it. As, now I'm not saying it's right or wrong,
That
but
was
let
in
me-
motion prior to you taking office also.
but, so the citing of it, and I've had a lot of people in the community. And I've had people tell me, actually, I keep telling everybody, you need to go to the fair meetings, you need to go to the Fair Board meetings. People
they
are
show?
resistant to, for whatever reason. But, and I tell them, I'm saying, you know, I get it, I'm hearing what you're telling me, but without the show of, I don't want to say show of force, but without the show of the community, what I'm telling really has no weight. I can say that I've had conversations with 100 members of the community on this process. But if I can't throw names and signatures and petitions or presences at meetings, it has no weight. So I do say that I have had these conversations with people and they're concerned about the loss of our culture at the fairgrounds. I get it, change is hard, you know, and people are resistant to change. But a lot of people see it that way, as a loss of our culture, of our 100 years. We're not coming up on our 100-year fair. And we're tearing down history and rebuilding over the top of it. And we're losing that culture in the process of that. That's what people are concerned about. So I'm just voicing what I've been told, what's been told to me. I know that there were other sites were looked at, or other possible sites were looked at on the fairgrounds versus the site that was chosen. Attending these meetings, I hear the livestock groups' concerns about where they're going to be at, and I get that, you know, people might have to improvise the first year or whatever until things get done. But there's funds also. I think there's $200,000 and some odd $270,000 for the livestock pens and stuff for that.
Well, it's not for their specific event. That was for livestock facilities on the grounds, period. It wasn't for just the livestock show.
Well, yeah, but for facilities to support those
Mhm.
events. So,
Which those are more, honestly, when the fair board went out for that grant, it's more targeted to your stalling revenue that can be achieved through that. And it can be dual purpose for stalling year round and the livestock show, which is why it encompasses into this project, because you can dual purpose what those grant funds can do versus just building more stalling out where the current stalling is.
so are those funds then, are they being used for just the purchase and construction of the event center itself? Or are they gonna be used
The lean-to where the stalls would actually be.
underneath?
And so those funds can be dedicated to livestock stalls, just as the grant was requested for. But they can be used for dual purposes. You can year-round stall horses there, which is our biggest revenue generator at the fairgrounds. And we lack capacity. We're about half the amount of stalls that we currently need to be able to capture all the revenue during events versus what we currently are able to.
Okay,
But those same stalls can also be used during any livestock show. And then allow for use of the actual building for the show versus having to stall within the arena. And so you have direct access into the arena from that stalling area.
so just like that grant right there, those funds. I know early on funds that were received were earmarked or specific for renovation and
Water septic upgrades.
yeah.
Which some of that was used for the sprinkler system that was able to be put in place in the vendor area.
So my concern is on that, if it's used towards the construction of new facility, new infrastructure, does that still fall in line with its intent for use?
It does, because they were ARPA funds. ARPA funds are all dedicated to any water, sewer, even broadband was mentioned in the ARPA funds upgrades. And so it stays in line with the purpose of those, the first $1 million.
Was it,
Because restroom facility upgrades. was
does it
also
follow the
included.
overall ARPA guidelines, or was it earmarked specifically for fairgrounds infrastructure upgrades?
The fairgrounds was the recipient. The qualifications in order to receive those funds was to be put into water, septic, restroom, those type of facilities, which is what those funds will be dedicated for. So as the construction takes place, as you're needing to move your water and septic lines around, as you're needing to build your restrooms, those funds can be specifically used during the construction phase to achieve that,
Even if it's new construction?
even if it's new construction. It didn't just have to be for remodeling.
Okay. Well, I still have to stick with my view that the planning process on this has not been cooperative with the court. I mean,
That's your opinion.
they picked a building design and structure and everything and said, this is what we're gonna do. The county court had no say.
Well,
They picked, well, and I don't know if it happened before I took office,
It
I don't
did.
know, but the siting of it, no input, or at least not that I've had any input in.
Well, we
and-
have walked the grounds with
I-
the county court multiple times.
I think this is one of those things where you two disagree, and I would have to say I am in more of the court of Judge Hart because of the way I approach cooperative work on things. And that rather than feeling being pushed on or pushed back, that we just say, okay, let's talk about this so that it can be more cooperative. The liaison is a role for keeping us apprised of things, but it doesn't mean it takes the place of when we need to be more involved without just being another person at a fair board meeting, you know, because the fair board meeting gets a lot of work that which they will bring to us for those cooperative conversations. And, you know, I think everything will be improved if we can help find a way to do this.
There's a
and-
lot of work when they
And not
come
just say,
to,
no, no, no. come to the fair
There,
board.
When
there
they
was
come to the
so
fair
many
board
work
meetings.
sessions held in the planning phase of this that was open to the public, and we had multiple public members of this community come, sit in, give input.
and I've attended many of them from as far back as
prior to
July,
taking
August,
office.
yes, July,
You were
August
in-
of last year.
You were in the room. That's
Yep.
where I'm just really,
But what I saw in those is there was discussions on wish lists of what we want, this and that and everything, but there was no county court, this is what we're looking at doing, what is your input? What, you know, citing it here, this is the structure, the size, the features, you know, and it's not incumbent upon us to go to that meeting for that. It's incumbent for the board to come and talk to us as the governing body.
I feel, and this is my opinion, that we appoint them to be our people that take on these responsibilities and roles. You have volunteer boards that we interact with in many different capacities. If you're going to give them zero authority to work on projects and do things, that those dollars came directly to the fairgrounds. They are through statute required to be responsible to take that and make it functional, make it work for the fair, make it work for any event that's held there. They have so much working knowledge, that's why we appoint those specific people, because they have a desire, they have working knowledge, they have history that we don't have.
But we do have a role in some of our committees are more advisory and some are more, you know, have some more authority on things. But regardless, the process, and it maybe it fell apart for a few years, but I've been coming to county court for a long time before I was ever in elected office. And the way I always really like to see it, and I would like to see it go back, not just for Fair Board, but for others, NRAC, library, you know, they need to get on the agenda once in a while to give the court an update. I can always tell you, as I do in general deliberations, this is what's going on. But it's good for all three of our sets of ears to hear it. We all three represent, we all have different ideas on things. Where to me, the Fair Board planning and the county court, I would like to see more cooperative, is not so much, this me personally, on what they're developing regarding the stuff that supports the fair, but the overall grounds and the things that are in the back of my mind or that will come forward if work about some things that are not necessarily fair stuff, but still related to our vision of the fairgrounds. And that's something they're not responsible for, but I'm sure they would love to be very aware of the thoughts going on, things like
I
that.
think if you have thoughts, it's incumbent on you to share them as well, not just them to come to.
You know, I've written long emails when I get something in the email, this is the plan and everyone, and I'll do it on a Sunday because it came in on Friday night and get it to them. This is not a good way. I have responded. I do zoom in when I can. I do hear what's going on. And I would still say that this is not, you know, to be an argument or offense. You're expressing something. I didn't know what was going to happen on this topic. I would just say,
Well,
I kind of
wanted an
agree with the
update. My
judge.
intent was an update to find out where we're at, which you provided, and I appreciate that. But I also felt it necessary to express my concern on the level of cooperation with the county court. that's where I'm coming from and that's what we're discussing. So,
And I say that's your opinion. I have other opinions as to the level of communication that's taken place on this project, the opportunities for engagement on it.
and I would say too, when you
So-
mention opportunities for levels of engagement, the fair board meetings are not designed for that kind of engagement. Because I have gone to the fair board meetings and tried to interact in those roles and I'm a member of the public at that point. I'm not a member of the governing body, I'm a member of the public. And they're not structured for that kind of engagement between county court and the board in a regularly scheduled fair board meeting. So I
Which is
just,
then the purpose of the work sessions that are more open format for discussion. And
have they
it-
had any for a while? I haven't, any work sessions? I haven't, it's been a while since I've,
there's been work sessions on other topics and we have 2 scheduled, as you heard. One with the livestock committee and then one with,
And
Something
once again,
else.
that could be a scheduling challenge because what works for a work session may not work for some of us who have other Zoom meetings. I know I have some evening Zoom meetings that aren't ones that you all participate in and et cetera. So it is important to carve it out occasionally, you know, on an occasional basis of not it just being, well, do it at the work, try to be part of the work session or the fair board meeting for this cooperative relationship.
I just think our volunteers spend ample hours in trying to provide their role to be fulfilled. And that if we just keep putting more and more and more on volunteers, just like what Karen was saying, it's hard to find folks to fill positions. And so I think we need to use a little bit of caution in trying to ask for above the moon. And I feel like.
Well, and
but I'm not
Fair Board-
asking for
You're not
more,
asking
I'm
for the
asking
fair
for the
board.
court to have a voice. That cooperation element in our MOU is a voice.
It is a voice, but I think it's a relationship also. I've worked at building relationships with the fair board members so that we can have ongoing dialogue. I strongly encourage the same relationship building to occur from members of the court so that you have ongoing conversations and relationships. It's really a two-way street. I feel just because you appoint them doesn't negate us from having to walk towards them as well. And so I think it has to be a two-way street. And I think there's always areas of improvement moving forward in communication. I wish,
I would agree with you more, and I will admit that I am deficient in that arena as far as building those relationships with them. But building those relationships with them and talking with them outside of the county court still does not satisfy the element of cooperation in capital projects. That, you know, at the end of the day, for whatever reason, just a scenario, at the end of the day, if there's something that the county is going to be held accountable for, it is the county, not the fair board, that ends up being accountable for it. It is the county court, the treasury, the general fund, wherever that money's at, that the county is the one that's going to be held accountable. And I'm not saying anything I'm just using this is why we have these precautions put in place and discussions and everything, is that if something is not utilized properly, it's the county that has to pay it back. The fair board doesn't have a revenue stream to pay it back.
they're more than aware of that.
I agree with you, Judge.
Now, they might be aware of it, but I don't feel that the cooperation level reflects that. I don't wanna,
It
I
can
don't
get better.
wanna-
It can get better.
yes.
Put it
But
like
I'd say
that.
it's a two-way street, so.
I think it's a topic though that we need to look at and discuss and maybe devise some procedures, some protocols, something to move forward with. Obviously, we're not gonna come up with everything right here, but it's I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up and didn't discuss it.
Well-
So,
That's good. Whenever there's anything, we should be able to do that.
so, all righty. Thank you for that time. I appreciate it. We are basically done. I think you said there were no water?
Yep, we have
Oh, there's water. Public water notices. And the Gs on these applications, that means that they're granted, they're new requests, is that what it is?
Groundwater, doesn't
Proposed completion date,
it?
so it's
Surface
in
or
the,
groundwater?
it's in the
Research.
permit process, it's not completed. It is just the permit process.
Okay. Cause
The G
a
is
T is,
groundwater.
oh, okay, and then I see an S is surface water, Ts are transfers,
Generally, yes.
okay. Do you need to see, we want to look at this? for a copy? You got
I
it?
would look at them online, thank you.
Okay. Correspondence, we have none? Did you, any correspondence?
No.
Scheduling, meetings, scheduling public listening session for the Crane Water Sewer District, October 19th at 6 p.m. again at the Crane Elementary School.
I will probably have to zoom in on that.
Okay, hopefully our
I'll
Zoom
do
works
that
better next time.
I didn't have this with me that night, and I said, oh, I'm probably available.
And then regular court dates, resume first and third Wednesday, October, or November 1st and November 15th.
No,
14.
that one's being changed. Remember, you guys are gone, so it's gonna be.
Oh, that's right, because that's during the
21st.
AOC conference. So we're moving that one to the following week.
We
Okay.
talked about making it joint with our Midland border meeting.
Calendar. November. Yeah, 22nd. So that would be the same date requirement for the, okay. So upcoming county court dates then will be November 1st and November 22nd. And any late items? Didn't have any mentioned earlier at the general deliberation updates.
I got a couple.
Okay.
Couple little ones. And this is just on, I don't know how long it takes all the fair bills and things to process, but at some point, having a fair wrap up and financial.
That's how
report.
the November Fair Board meeting is, and she'll present that to the Fair Board.
And then when the fair board approves it or whatever, then it can get on the agenda for us maybe in December. How did the Fish and Wildlife Commission thing go with the Derby stuff?
They did what they wanted.
Did they take public testimony from people here in the courthouse, or how do you might have it?
Nobody wanted to participate because they knew that the commission was not going to respect the testimony that was given. And so
So no one,
No one.
okay. I tried to
So they
listen
just
to it,
bothered.
and then my computer
They
glitched
have
before it got to that
exhausted
stuff.
the people on this topic.
So they just voted it down.
They
Okay,
did what they wanted.
all right. I just noticed an email earlier regarding Terry Helbush, who is one of our appointed members to the Eastern Oregon Workforce Board, telling the EOWB that she would not be able to participate anymore. So I envision, once I find out more, if we have one or two seats, if they're vacant at this time, then we'll go through the process of making a public notice. But if you can think of anybody,
What board is that?
Eastern Oregon Workforce Board. It mostly meets by Zoom. But, and what they really, for other counties, they tend to have business owners, people who are employers, people who are entrepreneurs and stuff like that. We've had a hard time ever getting it filled with that kind of a person. So sometimes we just fill with someone who has an interest in that, or
Have you ever engaged High Desert Partnership and seeing?
yes, they turned me down last time, but they might have more staff now to be involved. But anyway, be thinking about that, because that just came up, and I'll find out more and let you all know, and
So is that something we have to advertise?
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. For sure. And I recommend that, Tammy, if that, when we advertise for applicants, to have more come to you. That would be good. All right. Minor point, they put new carpet in that corner room downstairs, and they had moved stuff out in order to do that. So there's a bookcase that was in there that, Chad said was the commissioner records bookcase.
It had been in Mark's office originally,
Okay,
and then it.
I looked at it,
Planning, and then
nothing's
it
anything I need to keep. I don't know if any of you have any of that. It's in my office until it can
Okay.
go wherever it goes.
Take a look at it.
Yeah, so it's got some boxes and stuff, and none of it do I need to retain, so, at some point, hopefully we can find a
There's
better
quite few
place
book
for it.
binders That do have some good information that's historical.
So if you can look those over and let Judge Hart know, cause I
I
have
think he
no, I have no
I
opinion
think
on
he
that.
was planning on returning it to the storage.
Oh, he didn't say, I emailed him back and just said, how long are
Wow.
you gonna have there? He never emailed back.
Yeah, that,
Just don't want it to end up permanently in there since I don't use any of it.
most of all that stuff. And the interim is intended to go back into the
Okay,
storage, into that
alright.
room. Most of it has been cleared out, so it's a,
Get 4 people in there
Yeah.
with different functions if it were.
Yeah.
If we didn't have to store on stuff.
so
We just
I'm
have
trying to,
that for storage.
I know.
trying to brainstorm on what to do with some of that. It's just like the filing cabinets that are from the county court, that have files.
And it. if
There's
we
4 or
could ever-
5 of them there.
Can we find out how many of those, trailers and things that are in the SAR yard? That belong some to, look like they belong to sheriff, belong to this, belong to that, different entities, if they're, used, or if they're good waterproof, winterproof storage or not, or if they've been infested with bugs and, I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
what the nature of all that is, but
There was some stuff in that room that was emergency management as well. So if we could find places for all that and free that space up,
right.
it would be.
Just wanted to mention in case y'all weren't aware, there's some files down there, please look them over.
Yeah,
If you think it should be retained, let Judge Hart know. And if I'm not there, you can ask Tammy, do you have a key to my office?
I think I know where one is.
Okay, yeah, I still have a key to open, so. You have to go in here. Operation Green Light is something now that is an annual thing, and National Association of Counties, I think had something to do with its origin, but it's about 2 years it's been going on now, and this is Operation Green Light for Veterans, and it's in November, near Veterans Day, and they ask public buildings who support their veterans and can display green lights at night shining up, and maybe a little article or something to let people know that's why it did last year. That Harney County did it. Chad did it. So I haven't spoken to him yet, but it's November 6th through 12th. So I think he has all the stuff, but plus NACO has toolkits if you need toolkits for them. And I'll send you an email with the link if you want. But I just thought I'd mention that.
I'm sorry, November, what was that?
6 to 12. So before and after Veterans Day is when it.
Yeah, didn't they change the lights shining on the front of the courthouse to green? Is that
Yeah,
what
it looks really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and I think they changed in Christmas to a different color, but yeah.
It was nice. I think it was on, probably if you go back far enough on our Facebook page, you can find a picture of it or whatever. I think that's all I have. Thank you. Oh, just a question. APHIS and how that, I saw that there was a bill there, how, anything going on with the predator control stuff?
And they're actually planning on coming to present on the November 1st meeting.
Okay.
So I have several things to add to that agenda that I'll be sending you. And they do have some updated billings that they just sent to me. I saw just going into my inbox. So I'll forward those to you. The NRAC met last night. We met with just the Forest Service, Josh Giles was there, as well as the Deputy Forest Supervisor, as well as their planning coordinator for the Mount Air. She's out of the John Day office, very good meeting. They gave us some updates on multiple things. Their Aspen EA, they had to pull back due to the 21 inch ruling. And so they're actually going to go for a forest plan amendment and be able to cut all trees around the aspen stands because there's insufficient aspen on the district. And so look forward to that. We'll participate in that commenting process as it comes forward, supporting that action. It's very necessary.
That I think it'll go, do they express confidence that it
Yeah,
will go through?
they do. They had a really good EA put together, just with the courts messing with the 21 inch rule once again. It was an amendment of the amendment. And now they're back to the original amendment, but the EA was based off of the second amendment to the 21 inch rule. Therefore, it made the EA have to go back to the drawing board. Now it's based on the original amendment, 21 inch rule. So, fourth plan amendment is the only path forward to make sure that it is able to be implemented without the 21 inch rule negating it from being successful. So that will take place. They gave a update on the Murders Creek herd management area gather that is scheduled to take place. It's a joint effort between the Forest Service and BLM. It's already been through the commenting process. They're going through comments at this time. They're trying to get between 40 to 150 horses. It's grossly overstocked at this time, but very rugged country to gather from. And so it's going to take quite an effort to get those management numbers in line. They don't have a management or a herd management gather schedule. It's just in
Is
the
that a-
process.
Is that a herd area or a herd management area? Do you know?
Well, it's joint with Forest Service and BLM, and so I don't know if they use the same terminology or not between the two entities. We have quite a few local permittees and, you know, some from Malheur as well that are affected and impacted by it, and so it is an area of interest for us, just due to constituents being involved. Then they're also working on a NEPA process for an allotment that has not been able to be out as a grazed allotment because it is in need of NEPA. It's been on the back burner, and so they're working on getting the NEPA done on that so that it can be put back out to be able to have permittees apply for that allotment. So that's some good work that they've got in motion. Tony Saker was also able to attend our meeting last night, and he had been out doing monitoring with a lot of the Forest Service staff on several allotments. They use a process called the MIMS process for their surveying of those and monitoring. It's a very cumbersome process, very time-consuming process. So he had some suggestions for some other types of monitoring methods that they could utilize. That have been vetted between your Nature Conservancy, ONDA, the Eastern Oregon Ag Research Station, OSU and USDA, and one other group. And so the Forest Service actually was very excited to see the materials Tony had to provide and was going to take it back to their personnel to have it looked into for some potential for being able to use for monitoring and perhaps allowing the MIMS process to be used every like 5 years on appropriate monitoring sites, but it would greatly improve the process and time consumption of staff time to achieve monitoring. And so that was kind of an exciting piece that came from last night, especially as we're in the process of the Blue Mountain Forest Plan revision. They are still operating off of the 30-year-old plan with their monitoring standards. And so they're hoping that some of this material that Tony also provided can make it into that process. And so it's a good opportunity. Tony, as you Nell had been a consultant for the Eastern Oregon Counties Association during the Blues Mountain Plan in the early stages of the BIC process. And so some of what he's provided to them last night is, just some of the good work that he's done and been involved with.
He's such a great resource. He was involved in the big stuff and the socioeconomic on the big for the Harney County team that we did. It was very good.
Yeah, and so this hopefully will create some paths forward as far as monitoring that would make it more user friendly for the permittees to be able to participate and understand the data that's actually derived from the monitoring. Because right now, even once the MIMS process is complete, it's really hard to for the layman to be able to digest the information. So that was a good opportunity we had last night to meet with them and have some updates. And there was also an issue raised with a local constituent in the BLM that we'll be looking into further. It's not necessarily an NRAC issue. It's more of a conversation to find out a little bit more and see if the county would want to have further discussion with the BLM regarding it, but I need to do a little more homework before we discuss it further. So I'll be bringing that to you later.
Intriguing.
Yeah. Well, and like I say, it's one of those, you never know. I was quite surprised by it, so. That was our discussion last night.
Anything else? For good of the order, so to speak?
So, I mean, the Water Commission met last week. I attended those meetings.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Division
I was sick.
10 rules. Yeah, Division 10 rules were adopted, which is a good thing for the 512 rules to be able to move forward because some of the Division 10 rules will be implemented in the Division 512 process. So
No surprises.
no surprises.
So just clarification again, the Division 10 are state level rules,
Yes.
and then the 512 would be the local. for
Harney
their-
Basin specific.
Okay.
But there's also the groundwater allocation process. It's still in motion. Testimony was given on it. We're gonna continue to monitor that as it moves forward. They did not take action on it at this time. It's still in draft form. So.
And I see that in about 6-7 minutes, I've got my Zoom meeting, just time check.
I'm gonna go real quick here. I want to go back a little bit on the scheduling and mention our quarterly budget board work session for tomorrow. Make sure it's mentioned, 10:30 to 2:30? 2:30. So that update, we had the lead law training the last couple of days presented by CIS for supervisors, which was really good.
Good.
Try to find more avenues of training like that for our supervisors and department heads. I sent out the email, maybe it's been this morning, the EOCA meeting topics.
We received those.
Okay,
And I hope that they can try to find places that do have Zoom or virtual hybrid capacity, because a lot of commissioners, just depends on when it is. They still maybe could Zoom in, but can't always come, but I saw that they said.
yeah, they don't have a
When they
location
find a
set
place.
yet, yeah. And then I also wanted to mention during the last county court, the correspondence from the BLM in regards to the EA on the sage grouse amendment and the research natural areas, et cetera. I did forward that information on to Dominic for him to review and provide comments by the deadline, so I did do that.
And that was
It was coming up, so, but I sent it to him that day, so he's got it. Don't think I have anything else myself, so. And that takes us to the end of the agenda, and if there's nothing else, then county court shall stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Guys, I can't tell you how proud I am of the three of you after having done the SEAC meetings and seeing the other county commissioners in the other states. You are better than 20 to live.
Thank you, sir.